What do you think in general how AI can impact on our life?
In terms of the AI, what I expect to happen is that economic activity will be generated not by human. It's not about strict or not strict. It just has to be clear. That's the most important feature of the law, so that you know where are the boundaries to not be considered a criminal. Donald Trump declaring that if chosen president, he will make a Bitcoin strategic reserve in US. 200,000 Bitcoin is already held by US government. It's from some illegal activities, confiscations, etc., Silk Road and stuff like that. So he said, we're making this our strategic Bitcoin reserve that we're never going to sell. So that means that apart from gold, apart from silver, Bitcoin is going to diversify the strategic reserves of the United States. And there's another bill that was actually proposed by Cynthia Lummis, not only to keep those 200,000, we want to buy more. So what she's proposing is that US actually sells some of their gold holdings and buy 1 million Bitcoin for the US.
Greetings everyone, I'm your host, Kirill Ivanov. Today we'll be discussing how not to lose money in crypto in 2025 with my guest, Jacub, crypto and blockchain expert. Hey Jakub.
Hey Kirill.
It's great to have you here. Could you introduce yourself, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. And I've been in the crypto space since 2017, 2018. Prior to that, I used to be a lawyer. So I've been dealing with tax optimization, and I was obviously involved with a lot of legal structuring around the world. So that got me familiar with some concepts around the legal frameworks. And then I transitioned to the crypto world and to the crypto startups because I was always quite close to the money. You know, there is a link between taxes and the money. It brought me to try to understand better what the money actually is. And I started to learn more about Bitcoin. And I had the opportunity to actually co-found one of the startups out of Poland and Switzerland, which is called Bitfold. That was a startup dedicated to build a hardware wallet. Very special hardware wallet, very security-oriented hardware wallet. So that was the beginning of my journey, and right now I'm still involved with the space. So I'm doing two things actually. So I'm part of the RE10. RE10 is a company that is an on-ramp, off-ramp provider for European countries, European entities. And the second thing that I'm doing is I'm part of the US-based project called Matterify. And with Matterify, we're actually building an infrastructure for the wallets, for custody systems.
And what you do exactly?
So my role is around business development. But because I have got this experience as a previous founder, I'm kind of between technology and marketing and sales and investor relations. So it's a bit of everything, you know. This is still a startup, so it's a very special thing that we're building, I believe, because it solves a lot of problems and a lot of challenges also related to the security of how we interact and how we interact with the crypto space right now.
What's the biggest risk for crypto investors who want to go in crypto? Actually now, because now is market is going up.
Yeah, so that's good and bad. You know, it's great because everyone is excited, and there's plenty of new projects popping in. But that has got its dark side, which is basically people are triggered by FOMO, fear of missing out. They are jumping into the projects without doing a lot of research because time matters here. Meme coins are driving all this mania. So I would say be careful, not only with your investments, but also security-wise with the preparations and the infrastructure that you actually have got in place, right? So there's a lot of people that are triggered by the market moves, and they've got their fantasies that they will 100x, 1000x.
Right.
So they are looking for low-hanging fruit and for the smaller projects, but those are, very typically run by scammers.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rug pulls, meaning, someone's launching the project only to build some kind of fake volume to attract new investors, and then just sells everything, and then it's done. So you just left with the bags, what we call it in the space, right? So that's one part of the industry. So you have to be really careful about the projects that you're actually engaging with. you will see a lot of hackers, more activity, basically targeting all those unexperienced traders and unexperienced, I would say, crypto enthusiasts. So that means you can actually expect a lot of phishing attacks, because phishing is the biggest threat and the biggest, I would say, the most popular vector and way to attack people.
So,
right? So, and obviously, if you've been in the space for a while, you're kind of very sensitive to all the informations about, supposedly Binance sending you an SMS that your MetaMask is disconnected from their account. If you don't want to lose your funds, you should log in, etc. Like, it's obviously fake and not true. But as a newcomer, you might easily get tricked into this kind of stuff. So my suggestion is really be careful, especially if you're engaged in the crypto space and you're setting up your, email accounts that you connect to different services, and then sometimes you also have to disclose your mobile number, right? Those are going to be a potential vectors of attack for those different channels that hackers will try to exploit to actually fish you into opening a malicious accounts, malicious websites, etc.
Okay, and what do you think? And can you give some recommendation where people should store their crypto assets?
The problem with today's solutions is that they are either relatively secure or easy to use, right?
Okay.
It's very hard to find something that actually combines those two things. And because of that, you will see a lot of even, I would say, pretty experienced traders that are still keeping most of their net worth on exchanges, because this is how they utilize the assets that they have in order to make even more gains. But as history has taught us, that might not be the best choice, because most of the exchanges has actually been hacked before. That's one thing. And literally every single day, millions are being hacked. Now, on a bad day, it's tens of millions. On a very bad day, it's FTX or Mt. Gox, which means that billions are being hacked, right? So I wouldn't say that the exchanges are the best place to store your funds, especially the extensive amounts of it. So what are the options, right? Places such as exchanges, or more traditional finance apps such as Revolut, and some others, other providers. And then you will have software wallets, meaning those are the applications that you actually install on your different devices. It could be iPad, it could be your phone, it could be your desktop. And the problem with those is that they are constantly connected to the internet. And that means that they are much more exposed to external threats and attacks with different channels than something that we call hardware wallets. So hardware wallets are basically cold wallets. And what does it mean cold? They are not cold in touch. They are cold. That means that they are disconnected from the internet, because they are separate devices that you actually have to connect to your phone or laptop or your iPad in order to make a transaction. That means whenever you're not using them actively, meaning you're not sending any transactions, they're completely offline. And that's actually what you want, especially from the perspective of a holder, someone who's trying to accumulate, for example, Bitcoin for a longer period of time and not to touch it. That's actually a very good solution to store your crypto assets, right? So this whole, I would say, product emerged as an answer to the problems that the industry was facing from the very, very beginning. So that it emerged as a dedicated, specified devices in order to protect your crypto.
And what do you think, by your experience, because you worked in a company who especially built a hardware wallet, is it the safest way to keep money? It's In which cases it can be also risky. I mean, like Ledger, Trezor, it's
there is nothing like 100% safe, but you can always try to mitigate those risks, lower those risks. So there are problems with those as well. So one of the biggest problem is the vulnerability not necessarily related to the device itself, but to your backup, right? So if something happens to your hardware wallet right now, typically you will be able to recover all your assets based on the mnemonic, which is basically the seed phrase, 12 or 24 words. So now the question is, how do I store the 12 or 24 words, right? So this is the kind of vulnerability here that we have to take into account, right? So where do I store it? How do I make sure that it doesn't, damage somehow, in a fire, in flooding, like, someone spilling a coffee on it, right? So again, this is another issue with the backup systems that you have to think of, and what solution the industry has got right now is, for example, those metal plates, on which you actually can have like small metal,
like titanium plate, and
exactly
where you can
letters, and then you just phrase.
Conference, it's a really interesting solution.
Yes, but it's much more durable than obviously like a piece of paper, and then obviously you don't want to keep your seed out there online on any cloud, right? Because then it doesn't make sense for you to use your hardware wallet at all, because those cloud services can be very dangerous. I actually know people that lost millions because they were storing their seeds on their cloud services, such as Google. That's literally what happens. Like you don't see this on the newspapers every day, right? But this is literally how people lose their money. So even if you've got the best hardware wallet, the most secure hardware wallet, then you can also fall victim to hacking if you don't know how to store your seed phrase securely. There's also like very interesting solutions out there. I recently came across, for example, Zengo wallet, which is a software wallet, but it actually doesn't use seed phrase as a backup. So it actually uses 3 independent elements that you have to get together in order to recover. And what are those? So one is the email. The other part is your biometrics. And then the third part is as a recovery file that sits in the cloud. Okay. So you need all those 3 elements to actually recover the account. And then the other thing that they have is whenever you're signing transaction, meaning you're sending money to someone, what they are using is MPC, which is
it's pretty cool.
Multi-party computation. So it's basically 2 out of 2. So one key is on your device locally, and then the other key is actually stored on their servers. And there's plenty of services that actually offer something like that, especially for inheriting plans such as Unchained. So I want to make sure that my children, for example, get the access to my Bitcoin. So they are built like the whole ceremony and the plans for that to happen under certain conditions. So I believe there is no obvious answers to what you're asking. I think everyone has to have a certain level of understanding what are the pros and cons, and then decide for themselves. And obviously right now, especially if you're a Bitcoiner, you've got another alternative, which is not my favorite, but you have it, which is basically you go to your broker and you just buy an ETF on your Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's more simple for a retail market.
For retail market. And I expect this trend actually to grow very fast, not only regarding the ETFs, but also regarding the Bitcoin products offered regularly by banks to all.
Yeah, but this way it's not works for like keep meme coins, for example, to buy meme coins.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about DeFi direction, in your opinion, what's the top 3 software hot wallet you can advise audience?
Okay, that's a tricky one, but okay, guys. So definitely you can have a look at Zengo. I think
it's hard wallet, right?
This is software wallet. This is software wallet, So I think what they are building is very interesting. They have got some innovative ways of solving the seed problem and also the signing problem. Apart from that, I would probably look into like more reputable exchanges, because typically they also build their own wallets, such as Coinbase, Binance, right? So those kind of solutions are most probably well audited, well financed, etc. So the security around them is typically better. And I would also tend to look into the open source solution rather than closed source, especially if we're talking about software wallets, right? So these would be a couple of picks that I have in mind. Like in terms of the hardware wallets, I think you've got Ledger, I think you've got Trezor, and Bitbox, for example. Bitbox is a Swiss-made wallet. Now the differences between those will be the amount of currencies that they operate on. It will be if they are open source or not. It will be the connectivity. Some of them use Bluetooth, some of them need USB-C or USB-A. So those are going to be the nuances that you want to take into account. But in general, they propose like a kind of similar security level. That means that if a hacker tries to attack it remotely, there's a very little chance that they will be able to actually extract the money. Now, if the attacker actually has got a physical access to the device, that might be a different story, because we already saw in the history that we had a couple of those wallets actually hacked. But it will depend on the model. It will depend on the software update, which a firmware version that is very important for those kind of things. So I think you will be good to go with most of those reputable big wallet providers out there.
Okay, and do you think Trust Wallet, MetaMask, Phantom wallets, is it good? What do you think about these wallets?
So personally, I'm not really a big fan of MetaMask. I actually replaced it with Rabi.
Okay.
Because Rabi for me is a bit more clean, and most importantly, it gives you like a lot of information about what you're signing. So when you're signing, especially when you're interacting with some contracts,
they accumulate your data.
Exactly. So then what it does, which is really cool, is that it projects the outcome of your signing.
Yeah.
That means that if I'm swapping Ethereum for, I don't know, USDT, it will just show me in the projection, okay, this is going to be the outcome of the transaction that we're going to do. So it's going to be -1 Ethereum and plus 3,200, USDT on your account, etc. So that's probably one of the best features around Rabi, and it's a bit more security oriented in my view, because it just gives you, and I think it's important for those newcomers, it just gives you some alerts that, for example, you never interacted with this account, are you sure? You never interacted with this DeFi protocol, are you sure? So it just gives a use. It might be annoying if you want to do the transaction fast, but at the same time it just stops you for the moment to reflect if that's actually what you want to do, right? So then it just gives you like a extra 2 seconds to actually decide if I'm not getting scammed, right? If I checked the website URL, etc.
Yeah, but sometimes it's difficult when your amount transaction is around like $100 or less. You spend a lot of time to approve this transaction.
Typically, security comes with the user experience price, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that still needs solving. I believe that one of the biggest challenges right now is that we still haven't figured out how to make security easy.
Yeah.
And the other problem is that we still haven't figured out how to build trust on the blockchain, right? Like we trust the blockchain in the sense of we know which transaction actually happened, that's publicly visible, and that's all great.
As I know, you work with Wallets Closer. What you do exactly? Can you tell me?
Sure. So So one of the cool things that we're working on is we're trying to build a global send to name system.
Okay.
So what does it mean? Right now, if you're interacting with a custodian, such as your crypto exchange or some other person, and you want to send them, let's say, half a Bitcoin, what happens is you have to ask this person for their address.
Okay.
In the middle of this information transfer, meaning when someone is sending you over this information, it could be a man in the middle, right? So someone intercepts this information and just sends you over malicious address, right?
Okay,
So it changes the address.
Yeah.
Then you might, by accident, you actually send to the wrong guy. That's one thing, because you can't actually verify that this address actually belongs to your friend. Unless, I don't know, you're sitting just next to him and just, he just spells it out for you. But it's very, very difficult.
It's a lot of symbols in address.
It's a big alphanumeric, address that is very hard to. You can't actually remember this one. It's really complicated to remember, right? So what we are trying to do is replace those really hard to read addresses with the names, such as Kirill, such as Jacub, John, Alice, etc. Now,
like domain names, right?
Exactly, like domain names. Now, what is also important is that you want to make sure that this is private, meaning if someone knows your name right now on one of the services that are actually trying to solve this problem as well, such as ENS domains, FIO, all domains, there's a couple of those providers. The problem is that if someone knows your name, they can easily look up all the transactions that you've done and all your balances, which means that you're automatically very well targeted.
But blockchain is about it, like to see transaction history.
Yes, that is fine, but without identifying the person behind it, right? So if that information goes away, then literally you can become very easily a target of all those attacks. Personally, that actually happened a lot of time. There was an article about the guy in Sweden, I guess.
Okay.
That his address was identified, meaning his identity and his address. They figured out that he has got like a lot of money in crypto, and his home was raided. So you really want to keep it obviously completely open and transparent between your counterparty, but you want to make sure that it's actually private against all the malicious actors out there. So what we're building is we're adding a privacy layer on top of that. So on our system, when I'm sending money to Kirill, it will land on an address that only we could generate, meaning our wallets will actually compute the address that is unique for us. So if Alice would be sending money to Kirill, it will land on a different address under the same name. That only Alice could compute with you. Now, if it's going to be the third person and the fourth and the fifth, etc., it will all be the same. It's always going to be a unique address between you and this counterparty. So what it means is that I can only see the transactions that I've done with you. So I can map
it's cool.
your address to your name, but only this one, not the one that you use for your interactions with Alice.
If I want to send using your solution, I will see only my transaction history to you.
Exactly. Obviously, all the rest of the transactions also exist on the blockchain, but the issue is, the great thing about it is no one can actually map this name, this domain, with all those addresses. Because the database of those addresses on our system doesn't exist.
Yeah, right.
Because it's always computed on the fly dynamically whenever someone is making a transaction. So whenever the new counterparty is making a transaction, there's going to be a new address generated for you guys.
Okay, and do you have own wallet or you work and integrate in other wallets?
So we're building this as a white label technology, and we are working actually with different wallets. And we've built together with one of our clients who is Fortress, one of the wallets that you can actually download and play with that. It's in the beta. So it's actually downloadable. So I encourage everyone, if you guys are interested, just to give it a shot. But apart from this privacy thing, how do you build trust? So to build trust that this is actually your address, what I need from you is the way to prove that this is actually behind the Kirill name, but this is actually Kirill. So how do I do that?
Verification.
So
No.
we've built two things. So first is an encrypted chat. So I can actually ask you from my wallet to your wallet, hey man, how are you? So I can type it. And then I can ask, can you show me you're actually Kirill? And via this encrypted chat, because it's end-to-end encrypted, you can actually send me over the cryptographic proof of your identity.
How it will look?
So-
Like personal photo, video?
So it's going to be completely up to the authority that is actually providing this cryptographic proof. So it could be a bank, it could be a government, it could be anyone that is well respected and regulated, a KYC provider, right? So for example, SumSub is one of the most active in this space, right? So what those providers do is they typically take your identity document such as passport or any other ID, and then they check your face biometrics. They do the liveness check
as usual.
Exactly. And at the end of this process, what they do is they confirm, they certify cryptographically that this is Kirill. Now, we take this cryptographic proof and we attach it to your name, to your domain.
It sounds interesting for sure.
And now you can as a user, you can actually shoot this information to any counterparty you choose. But at the same time, this information that has been attached to your name is completely invisible to everyone else, right? So it just lives in a very decentralized way, only in your wallet.
And do you find privacy aspect in blockchain will be next big challenges for blockchain industry?
I think it is, because right now we are talking to different clients, for example, OTC desks, financial institutions, then corporates, all the
It's for big companies, not for retail market.
mostly, but if you've got some whales,
Yeah.
if you've got people that hold like substantial amount of crypto, they don't want anyone to know typically, and most of all they definitely don't want to be associated with that, because otherwise anything can happen. Like the bad things can happen. They could be tracked, they could be followed, etc. So but this is especially important for the big financial institutions, because they completely don't want to reveal how much volumes they do, how much balance that they have, etc. Right? So we need to build this privacy layer for them. That's for sure, because otherwise you will not have a massive adoption. And then another reason why the mass adoption is a bit slowed is because of the learning curve, right? Like, as a newcomer, you have to learn about all those blockchain addresses, about all those networks, about how to trust and who not to, right? It has to be simple, private, and secure. So if you combine those three things, so you replace the addresses with the names, those names are actually private, and then you are able to build the trust based on the cryptographic proofs of some authorized party, trusted party, then it's going to be a game changer.
But in which cases it can be hacked?
Well, what can be hacked is you may somehow trick the authority that is giving you the certificate of you being you. That means if someone is really good at pretending you,
Okay.
and is not Kirill, and will be able to trick the whole system, I don't know, with some, crazy AI image, and then proof of liveness, with all those technologies, then it could be a problem. But then, to be honest, it will be a global problem for everyone.
I think it's the same way to hack like software wallets. Or it's different?
No, it's going to be much different. Like with all those third-party providers that have to go through, that have to build a certificate of your
Transaction.
KYC details, they have got pretty advanced technologies to actually identify who's on the other side. It's typically not only that you have to provide them with the document, but you also have to show yourself, and sometimes you have to tell something. Sometimes, that there's a lot of requirements that actually allow them to correctly identify who's on the other side, and if it's not a fake.
And what do you think about big challenges in blockchain and in general finance market, more except of privacy aspect?
I think that given my background, I still believe that one of the biggest issues is regulations. I think that's still unclear. You can tell this easily.
It can be more strictly.
I think it just has to be clear. It's not about strict or not strict. It just has to be clear. That's the most important feature of the law, so that you know where are the boundaries, and then you consciously decide if you want to be in or out. That's a fair game. Right now, what is happening, you really don't know if you're going to not be considered a criminal if you're doing anything about within the crypto space, right? Because you don't know if you're issuing a security token or utility token. There is no clear guidelines
right.
In most of the places, right? So
it's new industry.
It's still a new industry, but at the same time, it's like those regulators are very reluctant to actually act and build the proper framework. So the best example out of all of that is the US, right?
Yeah.
You've got publicly listed company worth hundreds of millions, right?
Yeah.
And then as the company that's getting sued by SEC, like on a regular basis, like they are their favorite client, like it's crazy, right? So, I mean, it's a publicly
business model.
Yeah, it's like, and they are suing each other, and the problem is that they were pushing on the SEC and the CFTC to give them some guidelines, to tell them like what tokens can we list, what tokens can't we list, etc. But they couldn't get any answer, right? And then they got listed. Like, you have to understand, as a publicly listed company, you actually have to report on everything, like on every risk that you're facing, on every major transaction that you're doing. So it's disaster. It's literally a disaster for those companies to operate freely and confidently on the market because of the uncertainty that they're facing. So I would say that's probably one of the big issues. And then the blockchain space, I believe we have got two major use cases right now for all the crypto. So one is Bitcoin,
okay,
and the store of value,
okay,
and the second one is stable coins and payments. In terms of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the hardest money ever created. If you go down into the rabbit hole and just learn about the history of money, you will know that it has got all of the properties that you would actually require to create this money to have. So the only issue with Bitcoin to become actually money is less volatility.
Yeah.
Right? If it has got lower volatility, it's just...
But it's closer to like assets, same like stocks, where also volatility.
Yes, but that's why, people typically not pay with Apple stocks in the shop, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly the point. Now, I believe we are at the verge of complete shift in understanding of what Bitcoin is. It's becoming a strategic reserve of the countries. This discussion is already ongoing, right?
Oh, really?
Yes. So you've got countries such as US with Donald Trump declaring that he will, if chosen president, he will make a Bitcoin strategic reserve in US. So maybe not everyone knows that, but 200,000 Bitcoin is already held by US government. It's from some illegal activities, confiscations, etc., Silk Road, and stuff like that. So he said, we're making this our strategic Bitcoin reserve that we're never going to sell. So that means that apart from gold, apart from silver, Bitcoin is going to diversify the strategic reserves of the United States. So that's exactly what he said. Now, we will see if that happens, if this bill goes through. And there's another bill that was actually proposed by Cynthia Loomis. And she said, we want not only to keep those 200,000, we want to buy more. So what she's proposing is that US actually sells some of their gold holding and buys within the next 5 years, I believe, 1 million Bitcoin for the US. Like if that happens, then from magic internet money, Bitcoin becomes...
You're a smart country.
Bitcoin becomes like, the best store of value declared by the biggest country in the world, like the biggest in terms of the economics. I think 2025 is going to be extremely interesting year because of that, because we see a lot of interest on the corporate side, on the traditional financial actors side, meaning like pension funds, like hedge funds, all those guys with the ETFs already here. You can see a massive interest. Actually, those Bitcoin ETFs are the most successful ETFs in the history.
All right.
And then you've got cherry at the top, which is basically countries buying Bitcoin. There was literally this morning a tweet from potential Polish future president,
also about
Sławomir
Bitcoin?
Mencen. Yes, he's a holder since 2013. He's got like millions in Bitcoin, and he's never sold. And he said if he's going to be elected president, he's going to make a Bitcoin strategic reserve in Poland as well. And the particular states in the US are already looking into it, meaning there's Pennsylvania that actually already declared a draft of a bill.
Okay.
So that they want to put 10% of their reserves, which is $700 million, into Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a huge amount.
So if you add all those elements together, I think we can pretty confidently say that there is a massive use case for Bitcoin. Right?
I think Bitcoin extremely going up.
I'm not here to judge the price movements, but I think this is a paradigm shift in how we perceive Bitcoin from magic internet money for nerds, for some fanatics, or people not really connected to the reality, to the nation states buying Bitcoin. Like, and it's not any nation states, it's the biggest economies in the world. Now the other part is payments, right? So the current banking system is very, very slow. It's very inefficient. It's very costly. For example, if you would be to send money to Argentina or to Brazil.
Yeah, it takes time.
It not only takes time, it will probably take 10 to 15%. It's called a bank corresponding system. So if your bank doesn't have a direct connection to the bank that you want to send the money to, it actually has to go through all those different banks that will be at the end of the day connected to this bank.
Yeah.
So there's a massive chance it actually doesn't go in the straight line, right?
Big thing. Okay.
So it can take, I don't know, a week, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes even longer. Now, this is if you're lucky. But if you're a business and you want to do some business, you're a German business doing some stuff in Africa, there's a massive chance that your transfer will actually bounce. So the problem is, current financial system doesn't really work well, especially for cross-border transactions. It's very inefficient, it's very costly, it's very insecure. And within those 10 days or I don't know, 14 days.
What do you think in general, how AI can impact on our life?
Now, in terms of the AI, I think I'm not an expert in AI, but what I expect to happen is that we will have more of a AI agent economy. That means that a lot of economic activity will be generated not by human, but by the bots that are running under their supervision to some extent.
How it will work?
So it will be autonomous, right? So if you're using ChatGPT, you're just typing, send me over the recommendations for the best hotel in Bali.
Crypto strategy to invest.
Better not. But like find me, like plan me, the trip to Bali, and then just, find me like the best attractions, etc. So it can give you suggestions, but what it can't do is actually, it can't buy you the tickets, it can buy you the hotel, it can buy you it can buy you all those activities, right? So it's in a way siloed to providing you with the information. But it doesn't have the power to actually execute on those tasks. It doesn't have an access to your bank account, etc. So I believe that this will change. So we will probably have the robots that will be able to access your bank account or access your crypto wallet.
It's insane.
And then basically be your concierge and actually deal with all of that, right? And I expect those agents to actually talk to each other and exchange value with each other in a much more automated way.
Did you see presentation by Elon Musk about some robots like concierge?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's fine.
I think it's
first. It can be first case.
I think it's going to be I mean, I agree with Elon that that those robots are going to be huge, and it could be $1 trillion market because at some point, if this is going to be your cleaning services, your I don't know, your home barman, etc. It's going to be crazy. But in terms of the AI, I believe that those capabilities are going to be added, or those functions. So the access to the financial sandbox accounts. But what is very necessary for that to work actually in the blockchain space and in the crypto space is that we make sure that those agents are not getting scammed and tricked into sending the money to the people or machines.
Second lawyer.
Exactly. So because otherwise we will have the same problem that we have right now.
Yeah. First thing we should start to understand and learn how to not to be tricked.
Yes.
Yeah, and then second to learn robots.
Exactly. So not only we have to teach the AI how to, be smart about not getting scammed, but also we should put a lot of effort to build like a better technology for those AI agents to actually be able to verify who's on the other side, to be able to ask for cryptographic proofs, because the cryptographic proofs are the best.
Can you give some recommendation for audience, for people who want to start to go in crypto?
Okay, so don't make rapid moves. That's probably the most important, right? Because it's really easy to FOMO. It's really easy to get into trouble and just lose all your money on the prospective projects that, don't add up very well. So be patient. Try to get some more education and understanding of how this market works, because it works in cycles, right? So we just started another cycle of upwards movements, which is a great opportunity, but at the same time, it's a massive challenge to handle this properly. So just don't get too excited. Invest only the money you can actually forget about, because especially if you're going the altcoin path, just look at some altcoins from the previous cycles. They don't exist anymore. So just be cautious about it. Keep it cool, and I would say find out like what is your strategy for this bull market. Like don't get overexcited and don't get driven by emotions. I think that's the most important part, because everyone is very happy when they print more money on their investments, but it's also very important to actually get out of those investments, either to Bitcoin or to your cash, depending on your personal situation.
Okay, thanks for joining, Jakub.
Thanks a lot.
Lucrative conversation.